I'm David Burns and I am excited to be with you today because I want to talk more about the dearth that happens in late summer, midsummer to late summer, when all the nectar is gone and the bees really aren't doing anything. And I want to really urge you to consider feeding your bees. Now look, bees have stores that they've gathered in the summer, right? They have maybe honey around the brood nest area. They might have some honey stored up in a super or two that you're going to leave on for winter. But think about this. There are no other resources that are going to be available much to speak of all the way until next spring. Now you might get some fall forage going on with some goldenrod. You fingers crossed you'll get something there, but there's no guarantee. And so bees can really consume all their stored resources even before winter gets here. So what I do and what I want to show you today, be sure and pay close attention, take notes, because I like to feed my bees as soon as the dearth ends. I usually wait about 2 weeks after the dearth starts before I start feeding my bees. And I want to show you what I feed my bees. I want to show you how I feed my bees. And I want to tell you what difference it makes on helping your bees develop bees of winter physiology that will live 4 to 8 months. They'll be the bees that you see in the spring, the bees that they raise in the months of September, October, November. So this is imperative that you think through this whole concept of feeding bees in the fall. Traditional concepts have been, or the paradigm has been, that we feed our bees 2 parts sugar, 1 part water in the fall to help them have more stored type honey for the winter. But I don't do that. I'm going to be feeding my bees 1-to-1. I've done this for well over a decade. 1-to-1 sugar water, and I add additives to it. And it looks like this. It has this color to it, because what I've added is, for a quart of this, this is our additive pack that we sell. I add a teaspoon of Ultra B protein powder, or any kind of powder will work, a teaspoon of Honeybee Healthy, and then I add a teaspoon of Amino B Booster. It's more protein. But I'll add a teaspoon of each of those to a quart of 1-to-1 sugar water. Now it doesn't matter if you use, dry weight, liquid weight, however you want to measure it. Basically 1-to-1 is fill it up. Half of it's going to be sugar, the other half is going to be water. And that's the solution I'm going to feed my bees in late summer, going into winter, going into fall. And I'll feed them this all the way until I can't feed them liquid anymore, which is when our temperature reaches 50 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. They really stop taking sugar water from the top. I don't like to feed bees just sugar water because bees need protein as well. They get that from pollen during the season. So I'm kind of just making this same mixture just like they would get out of flour. They would get the protein, carbohydrates mixed together. So today, let's jump into a hive here. This is a hive that I started from a package this year, and they kind of got off to a slow start, and I had to feed them to get them going. So I didn't put a super on this year, and I'm just going to get them through the winter by feeding them right now this 1-to-1 sugar solution, and then I'm going to give them a Winter Be Kind. Once the temperature drops below 50 around December, January, I'll put the candy board, the Winter Be Kind boards on, and I'll feed them this same solution in a harder candy all winter long. Now these are the feeder boards that I'm going to be demonstrating today, and these are the ones that I created, invented, and that we sell a ton of. And they're really neat because once you put them on the hive, you can change out your feeding jars, and because the screen is there, it won't allow any bees to come out while you change your jars. And you're feeding from the top. That's what's really significant. So, well, today for this demonstration, I'm going to be using a used one, a little bit more weathered, but still gets the job done. Now, for me, it makes no difference at all how populated my hive is, because remember, these are summer bees that live 45 days. What I need is brood that can last me all winter. So no matter if this hive is extremely populated or kind of weak, I'm going to feed them because I'm going to use this to simulate a nectar flow and allow the queen to lay more eggs as I go into late summer and fall. So this is a dearth technique that I've used for well over a decade to build my bees up, get them ready for winter. Since we're not going to be lifting up any frames, I'm going to try to get by without any smoke, just to put the feeder on top here. As I'm prepping up this hive to be fed, I want to encourage you guys to be a part of my live stream Thursday night at 7 p.m. Now, we have another live stream this week, if you're watching when this video is being published. This Saturday, we have a live audience live stream. That's going to be July the 27th at 1 p.m. We still have a handful of tickets, or a little bit less. If you still want to make it out to the bee yard, to the filming studio, and be a part of my live stream audience, that's going to be Saturday, July 27th at 1 p.m. Tickets are still available if you're interested in that, and I'd love for you to be there. If you can't be present, watch the live stream on Saturday at 1 p.m., July 27th, okay? I'd love for you to be there. Now let's keep working this hive, because I want to show you how to take care of your bees in a dearth. How do you feed them? Now, in the past, I really didn't feed my bees like 20 years ago or something like that. And what happened was I got a lot of bees that ran out of food in the fall. And so I just hate to see that. So what I'm going to be doing with this hive that's off to a good start is we're going to place our feeder board right on top of the bees like this. And again, this is really cool because this keeps the bees below the screen. Now, if you're in love with pollen patties, I don't use pollen patties a lot much anymore because of the small hive beetle threat that can sometimes lay eggs in pollen patties. But some of you may still use pollen patties. And of course, if you do, then you could push the pollen patty down through the 1/8" hardware cloth. It kind of extrudes it, chops it up, and the bees can eat it, and you can put something on top to cut down. But I would only use enough where the bees would eat it. If you put too much pollen patty, make too much available, small hive beetle can lay a lot of eggs and actually multiply, reproduce in the pollen patty. So only give enough pollen patty through the screen if you're going to use it that way. I don't do that. Look, I put my protein here. I disguise it, hide it from the beetles by putting it in my sugar water. So in the sugar water, make sure your jar lid's on tight, and then I will just put it right here. Now, it has a place for two. If you're going to Europe on vacation, or if you've got a lot of work you got to get done, you're going to be gone for a while, you can put 2 jars on. You can even set one here. Now, I came up with a concept because a bee inspector wanted me to put a feeder, an entrance feeder. Like if this top wasn't here and we just saw the top bars of the frames, he wanted me to set those in there. And then I tried that, but the bees built a lot of stray comb around the box. So what I've decided to do this way, the bees can't gain access to this area. But there's one more step you have to do. If you have a tall jar, then you want to put a deep hive body box just like this. This now becomes your working area. This is where you're going to be able to change out your feeders, add more, check on, what the state of your jars are. And so this is just giving you access to your feeder jars without having to open the hive up now or pull them off and on to the front. Now, you never want to use entrance feeders in the fall. That is just a sure sign of your bees being robbed out. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, he put Honeybee Healthy in his sugar water, and that's going to induce robbing. It never has, because where I place it on top here, and I surround this with my top cover, then all the sugar water, even with a little bit, a teaspoon of the Honeybee Healthy, it's confined here beneath the lid, and it has this deep hive body box around it. So I've got my stimulant, my Honeybee Healthy stimulant, my Amino Bee booster, my Ultra Bee powder in my 1:1 sugar water, a teaspoon each per quart, 1:1 sugar water. This is going to allow my bees to consume it and raise more brood. And if they raise more brood in the fall, that means I'm going to have a lot more bees that are of winter physiology. If you don't know what winter physiology is and what it means to bees, it means that bees are going to have a lot of brood going all the way through winter. They're not going to die every 45 days. They're going to live all the way from maybe October, November, all the way until March and April. And then the queen kicks up again, starts laying, and those bees will be replaced as they die out. But it allows a new generation of bees to replace them in early spring. So what happens, and those of you that have practiced this, you'll notice you'll come out of winter with a lot more bees, especially if you feed them the winter bee kind all winter long. And my winter bee kinds go on sale August the 1st. I'm not trying to give you a sales pitch at all, because we always sell out of these, but I just want to help you get your bees through the winter. And I have so many hundreds and thousands of customers that marvel at how feeding bees really makes a difference on how well your bees survive. A well-fed bee is always going to be a healthier bee. Now, there's still things you need to do. You still need to keep your mites in check. You still need to make sure that your hive doesn't get robbed out. Just that happens in a dearth. You still want to reduce the entrance. And as I said in my last video yesterday, it's important to put a robber screen on before robbing starts. And that can happen if you're a new beekeeper and you've never seen robbing. You wouldn't think it would happen, but a strong colony will rob out another weak colony just to get their hive built up for winter. Robbing happens, think about this, robbing happens because a hive is wanting resources that they can pack away before winter. So if you feed bees from the top, I have found that it really does reduce robbing, because if you feed all your hives, then the hives don't feel the need to be robbed out because they have a resource sitting right above them. Let me tell you also why it's important that we feed from the top. Because when you do this in the fall, I know I'm making this video in July, it's a prep, it's getting you ready for the dearth, ready for fall feeding. But if you do it in late summer, early fall, it's usually rainy. It's usually cooler, depending on where you live. But here in Illinois, we have sometimes a very cool fall, and it rains. So bees aren't going to be able to go forage. There's nothing out there to forage. After October the 1st, everything is killed off in the way of flowers here in Illinois. And so from October, November, December, all the way into winter, they have no resources except what they have stored, and they'll eat through that pretty fast. And so by feeding them something like this, it does prevent robbing. And on cold times when bees would normally not really go out to an entrance feeder, you've got this feed right above the cluster. Bees cluster at about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And so even when they're clustered, even in the winter time, a cluster will eat through the winter bee kind. Even in fall, when it's cool outside, they'll eat this candy jar sitting on top, full of 1-to-1 sugar water. And you can come back and check on it and see what conditions it's in. Well, I'm so excited. We're so close to 150,000 subscribers. I didn't think I would make it by the end of the year, but here it is, mid-year. We're about to roll over 150,000 subscribers. So thank you guys. Please subscribe. Half of you that watch aren't subscribed. Love to have you as part of my channel. So click on the subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up. There's a lot of things about the dearth that I didn't mention because I mentioned them yesterday. And if you didn't get to see yesterday's video, I gotta warn you, there's a lot of things about the dearth that you need to be prepared for that I didn't mention in this video. So drop back, watch my previous video where I'm gonna teach you all the necessary things like keeping your bees well watered, keeping bees from being robbed out. I've got a lot of things to share about the dearth and what you're supposed to do. So take a look at this video right here. I'll see you guys over there.